A white-knuckle drive through whiteout conditions. Up above, thunder snow with flashes of lightning. And booms. This is life inside the lake effect bands, which rolled in overnight like a wall of snow.
So the snow's just heavy. It's wet, it's crappy, it's hard to push, so it's really hard to keep up with.
And it's going to keep falling well into the weekend, pushing up into Buffalo, prompting widespread driving bans.
When the snow is falling between 3 to 4 to 5 inches an hour, you can't beat it. You are going to get stuck.
Something this Torontonian found out the hard way.
It's horrible. I don't know. I've never driven in a storm like this before. This is my first time, and it's crazy.
It's tough.
A little shoveling.
Is it front wheel drive?
It's all-wheel drive, yeah.
A little sand.
Yeah.
And they're free. And having second thoughts about this trip.
I'm thinking of returning back to Canada.
Many others south of the city have been stuck for hours. And late Friday, news the storm turned deadly.
2 males who have unfortunately perished as a result of exertion, having cardiac events associated with snow shoveling and snow blowing.
Buffalonians are no stranger to storms like these, many taking them in stride.
This is probably where my car is. The top of my car is probably here, and all that is snow. So I don't know when I'll get it out, but maybe next week.
And yet they recognize this could be one for the history books.
This is one of the worst major ones that we've had, that I can remember anyway, in quite a few years.
Okay, Katie, to pick up on something you said, there are few places that know snow like Buffalo knows snow, but people are really worried about what's going to happen this weekend.
It's really brought up memories because 8 years to the day that this event started yesterday was the 2014 Snowvember event. That is a multi-day storm, very much like this one. It had bands very much like this one that just sat and dumped snow to the point that roofs collapsed, hundreds of roofs collapsed, more than a dozen people died because of those conditions, and that's the fear here. And already today we heard that in Amherst, just south of here, there was a partial structural collapse due to snow. And of course, Ian, there are more days of this to come.
All right, Katie, thank you.
You're welcome.
And let's bring in CBC News senior meteorologist Johanna Wagstaff. And Joe, help us understand what's causing all this snow to come down.
Yeah, Ian, what we're seeing is different than your typical winter storm. This is, at its core, a wind event. Take a look at this snapshot of what has been the radar for the past 2 days. Cold air racing over the Great Lakes, which are much warmer. In fact, they need to be 13 degrees warmer. I love it when there's a rule of thumb. And as that air moves over the water, it's picking up moisture. So when it hits land on the other side, it dumps all of that in the form of these intense bands of snow, even thunder snow. And these bands continue basically as long as the winds blow. Now, normally at this time of the year, winds come from the north, but this time they're coming from the southwest, which means they have much longer to travel across Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. So this setup doesn't happen as often, but with Buffalo at the tip of Lake Erie, it has seen big snow dumps before. This year, lake water is running warmer than usual, and the winds are persisting for almost 3 full days. So, Ian, this one will be one for the books.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of snowfall that's expected is staggering. So let's look ahead to the weekend, Joe.
So these narrow bands are shifting ever so slightly, putting Buffalo back into the line of fire overnight. In Ontario, watch as this snow moves over Picton and the Niagara region, where we could see 50 centimeters of snow. And meanwhile, the lee shores of Georgian Bay and Lake Huron could end up with close to 80 centimeters before the winds finally change direction completely and clear out Sunday night, Ian.
All right, Johanna, thank you.
You're welcome.